Welcome to the About podcast. Here we explore your financial health in simple and easy to understand ways.
Well, welcome everybody back to the About podcast. This is Jeremy Scott, one of your hosts here, and excited to be hanging out with my good friend Roy. Roy, how you doing?
Roy Hucke like cookie.
Roy Hucke.
I'm doing good, buddy.
Fantastic. So today we have a topic probably, I'm going to guess, near and dear to your heart.
It is quite near and dear to my heart.
It is. We're going to do a little basic education for our amazing audience, and today's basic education is, what is a financial advisor?
It is a misnomer. It really is.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm really excited to get into it. We're going to talk about lots.
Me too, because you have been my financial advisor for a couple of years now, and I think I know what you do, but maybe I'm probably going to learn some stuff.
You of all the people should know what I do pretty good since we talk on the podcast all the time.
You would think so.
So this is coming up because there is terminology that's kind of thrown about in the world, if you will, of financial decisions and all these things that makes it kind of unknown what does somebody really do if you call them a financial advisor.
Right.
So before I dig in, Jeremy, what do you think a financial advisor does?
I think a financial advisor advises me on my finances.
What does that mean? What's the scope of work?
Well, I mean, my automatic thought goes to, things like investments and retirements and like that kind of part of my, financial world. Probably not so much, you're not, like budgets, household budgets or maybe anything like that.
You wouldn't think your financial advisor would help you with that?
It's not what I would seek one out for. Truthfully, I think when a lot of people are probably like me, you and I started having these conversations when I had some retirement funds, from my late wife, we had to figure out what to do with. And so there was some consolidating that needed to happen and some rolling over and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what I started with. And I imagine for a lot of people, like that's probably the starting place. But
life events are definitely a starting
life
place.
Events, yes.
By necessity and force,
right?
Ultimately.
Now, of course, over the years, I have learned you do a lot more than that, and you have helped me out with far more things than that. Let me be clear.
So I would actually say that I started in this profession 17 years ago.
Yeah,
and I would say that I was a financial advisor to start.
Okay.
Now, would you consider me a financial advisor today?
Well, the way you're asking that question leads me to believe that. Well, let me ask you this to start with: is financial advisor, like, is that a technical term, or is that just one of those umbrella terms we throw around? Well, in my world, pastor, pastor can mean any number of things and mean any number of qualifications or lack thereof. A lot of people could call themselves a pastor. I have a very so I'm just curious, like, is there a technical definition of advisor, or is it just one of those kind of umbrella terms?
It's really an umbrella term.
Okay.
There's some technical pieces to it, but technically, you could call yourself a financial advisor because you help advise people who are your parishioners,
right,
about maybe some financial decisions from time to time.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. Like, is this something that is this a title I can give myself, or does somebody have to bestow it on me? You can't just go around calling yourself a nurse unless you're a registered nurse.
There's no requirement to call yourself a financial advisor necessarily. Okay. So
that's number one.
That's
good.
number one.
Good point.
And it is important to understand that, because if someone says they're a financial advisor, what does that mean?
Right.
So it's something worth digging into.
Yes.
So if you're sitting down with somebody to make a financial decision, to have a better understanding of their background, does that mean that you have any kind of licensing of any kind? Right?
Okay.
So for instance, if let's say that I came in here and I wanted to help you with your, what if you lose your life situation?
Right.
It's one of those risks we talk about, what ifs.
Yep.
And I could come in here and present to you some solutions and using life insurance to do that. Well, technically, I could be called a financial advisor.
Oh.
But that's all I do. And I do have to have a license to sell life insurance.
Right.
But
which you have sold me life insurance.
Yeah. I solved
Full
the-
disclosure, I
I
bought
s-
life insurance from Roy.
I solved the need. I didn't necessarily sell you that.
No. Yes. Well, that's it. But that was it.
Technicality,
Yes.
because we're going to get to that piece too.
Okay.
On why I say that like that. But so that could be a financial advisor
Okay.
presenting you with an opportunity to solve one of the problems you have, which is I need to protect myself in a worst case situation if I lose my life. Okay. And there's licensing required of that. But you could also have someone who potentially has the ability to sell you a stock.
Oh.
Can't sell you life insurance because they don't have the life insurance licensing, but they do have a securities license that they can sell you a stock.
Okay.
That's also a financial advisor.
Oh.
Two different needs.
Right.
So it's kind of the scope is what is your background? What do you actually do? How do you do it? What's your licensing behind that? If they don't have anything, maybe you need to look a little harder at what's going on behind the scenes here.
Okay.
There are actually things out there that can be purchased that do not require a license.
Oh. Okay.
And that person could still call themselves a financial advisor.
Okay.
Okay. So financial advisor is just loosely used. It's just loosely used. So that's the first thing, just so people understand. Like if someone says they're a financial advisor, what does that actually mean?
Okay.
So
that's a question you should ask.
That's absolutely.
If I'm the client, if I'm a potential client to somebody, I'm like, well, what is?
Yeah. And part of that, is obviously you're sitting down with someone and you understand the scope of work that they're going to be helping you with. If they're here to solve your life insurance need, well, you know that they're a financial advisor that does life insurance, and that's what they do.
Right.
But they don't do other things. But other people do other things that can't do that, and they're all financial advisors. Okay.
Gotcha. So that's a kind of a loose, general term that is helpful to a point, is what I would say.
Yes.
To that one. So but it's probably useful for me as a potential client to dig a little deeper, to make sure I'm getting the right person for my needs.
Yep.
Okay.
So understanding that's the baseline. Now because of this, there are things that exist out there that people like myself will do to separate themselves from just being a financial advisor.
Right.
Okay. So for instance, I have my certified financial planning designation. Right. CFP is what it's called.
I saw it on the door on the way in.
Did you?
It says
That's
Roy
right.
Hucke.
It is
It
on
says
the
Roy
CFP.
Hucke,
I do
CFP.
have another. Look at that. Look at that.
I know. You got letters after your name. That's
I
always a
do.
good sign.
I
That's
do.
always a good sign. Letters after your name.
Well, it is and it isn't, because it actually can be misleading too.
Oh,
Right, because there's so many designations you
Well,
can get, and
that's
they all
true.
mean different things. But the CFP is I actually only have the CFP
right.
on purpose. There's lots of other things I could have done, but I only did the CFP because it's kind of it's the standard in my profession.
Okay.
Certified financial planner. I'm still a financial advisor,
Yeah.
to answer the previous question.
So you're still a
that you danced around.
Yes.
That yes, I'm still a financial advisor. I could say that.
Yeah.
But I'm actually more than that, and I'm a financial planner.
Okay.
So what does that mean, right? What does a planner mean versus a financial advisor? Well, there's all the different things in your life that affect your financial situation.
Right.
And I try to look at those holistically, right? It doesn't mean that I get paid to do a transaction on every little piece that's in your life. That's not the point. It's actually, we look at everything to make sure that those pieces of the puzzle are in the game.
Right.
And we know how they're going to affect you when life happens, because it's not if, it's when, right?
Right.
You're obviously the person that knows that the best.
I'm well aware.
And I want to make sure that we uncover each of those pieces in their life. The what ifs are part of that. What if I lose my life? What if I lose my health? What if I lose my job?
Right.
Right. So we're talking about emergency fund. We're talking about life insurance. We're talking about health insurance, potentially long-term care insurance, disability insurance. Those are insurances, and there's things you can buy, but it doesn't mean you have to buy them. You just need to understand, how am I going to be affected if that happens?
Right.
So we just talk through those things, making sure we cover those things. That's the starting point
For planning.
for planning purposes.
Yes.
Right. And then from there you go into like, what is the most important thing that we're trying to solve for the person, right? But it could include retirement savings, right? It could include a vacation plan.
Yep,
It could include a new car, right? It could include debt payoff and how to do it,
Right.
how to consolidate, do a debt snowball, right? All those things.
Yeah.
So I am licensed to sell securities. But I also have my certified financial planning designation, which is above and beyond what people do typically, because it's actually, number one, hard to do.
Yeah.
And it actually sets a standard called the fiduciary standard that an advisor is obligated to uphold to hold that designation. What does a fiduciary mean? It means that we have to do what's in your best interest no matter the situation.
So before we get into that, I want to talk just real quickly about the just the process of becoming the CFP. So there's a training and learning component that is, I think I've heard from you before, is fairly a lot. Mm-hmm. So there's a learning piece that you had to go through. There's a credentialing piece that usually involves like testing and all that kind of stuff to make sure you actually do know the things that you claim to know. And then is there an ongoing component to it, continuing education, things like that. So what you would see, I mean, basically kind of what you would see in the world of like, professions, right? I mean, doctors have this, nurses have this, lawyers have this, clergy have this, some clergy, not all, where there's, you have to meet a certain standard of knowledge and expertise, and then you have to continue to grow and develop. So that's what is helping, you to stand out, and also helping you to help people well is, all that kind of stuff that goes into it. You can't just like wake up one day and say, I'm going to call myself a certified financial planner, because unless I've actually done the work.
Right. So it's a big deal.
Yep.
It's a big deal. So, in the designation that I got, you have to go through an accredited university.
Oh,
right. It's an actual like school. It's, it's not the same as a master's program, but it's like a master's program.
Yeah.
Right. You're going in specifically to
when I've looked at it, mostly they're offered through the graduate departments of the schools.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then there is ongoing education requirements, continuing education. And it's really interesting. When I first started my career, I was like, oh, this is a burden because it takes time. Yeah. And now that I'm 17 years in, I really enjoy continuing education because I'm a geek of the business.
Right.
I just love learning about the business and the changes and all the things that are going on. And I really enjoy it.
Well, but because it does change. I mean, shout out to our Big Beautiful Bill podcast from a couple of weeks ago or whenever. I'm not sure when it's coming out in the scheme of things, but if you listen to that one, I mean, that was a huge change. It touched a lot of things, and we still don't quite know everything it's going to touch.
Exactly.
So if you're not keeping up, if you're not, doing the work to continue to learn, then, that's not okay. I mean, the same reason like medical professionals have to. Medicine's changing all the time, right? So you can't just say, well, I got my medical degree 30 years ago and I haven't learned anything since. That's not going to work.
And it's a great example as the one big beautiful bill, because one of the things that came out of that was if you're over age 65 and you make below $150,000 joint filer, each of you get an additional $6,000 deduction. Well, that's a big deal. I had someone just call me the other day. They wanted to take some money out to do something.
Right.
So I said, hey, are you aware of this? Because this is where the planner comes in, because I'm not just transacting. I'm actually like, how is this decision going to affect your tax situation? Because it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Right.
And we want to make sure we look at that holistically. And I educated them on it. They made a decision that was best for them, but they were completely aware that existed, and they can get that additional $12,000 because they're both over age 65.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's a perfect example. But otherwise, if they just called me and been like, hey, I want to do this, okay, we'll place the trades and we'll send you the money, not knowing how it potentially affect their tax situation.
But since you have that planner role, you're keeping a more holistic look on things.
Yeah, and another example for you too, because this is a really good one recently. Like I have a client that went through a divorce.
Yeah.
When they went through the divorce, they got some money from, how things fell out, and they ear tagged it with each child.
Okay.
But it's in the name of the adult. Okay. So at one point in their life, they're going to give it to their child, but it's in the adult's name. Well, that was 10 years ago, and it's been invested. It's grown a lot, and their child is an adult now, a young adult, but not to the point where they want to hand it over yet. Right. So they want them to get through college first and those kind of things. But they were just talking about the risk on the money, like, hey, can we put more risk on this money? And client calls me. I'm like, yeah, we can absolutely do that. But if you do that, here's the tax ramifications to you, because now she remarried and they together now make pretty good money. They're in a higher tax rate. Their taxes are they're gonna have to pay taxes at a different rate on this money than they would have otherwise, than she would have otherwise. And so anyway, the point of this is I just talked through, hey, here's what's going to happen, the ramifications of that.
Right.
But if you want to give some of this to your child now, maybe not all of it, but some of it, they can then, when you do that, they receive it as the cost basis that it has. So the taxes will have to still be paid, but you can transfer the asset from one person to another without a taxable event because we don't sell the asset.
Right.
So the child can now decide to sell that under their tax rate, which is way better because they don't have a job. They're going to college.
Right. Much lower.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we can reposition that money. So now what are they going to do? I don't know. That's not for me to tell them what to do.
Right.
My job is just to say, hey, here's the ramifications of the decision before you. You make the decision you feel is best for you.
Right.
That's a financial planner.
And that's what most people need, because truthfully, I mean, the world is incredibly complex in many ways when it comes to finances. When you step out of the kind of normal everyday, just kind of household budget kind of stuff, and I'm not an expert in that. And I'm an expert in other things, and most people are not an expert in that. They're experts in other things. You are an expert in that, which is why we come to you and say, "Hey, Roy, what and help me think about this." And if you are my planner, then you have some understanding of what my plans are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And every company has different rules, and there are different federal regulators that exist, and depending on your licensing, depends on what rules you got to follow. And my decisions that I've made over my work career have been to the fiduciary requirements.
Right. So
from the regulators to my licensing, right, to my CFP. And I did this because, in my opinion, this is the best for the client.
Right.
It's the most transparent for the client. Roy's interests do not matter. Only the client's interests matter. And when I educate them, it's about what's best for them. And I get a lot of fulfillment from that because I don't think about myself. I think about them.
Right.
And the reality is, though, my let's say brand new financial advisor life would have said to that client with her child's money, yeah, we can place that trade. There'll be some taxes. Are you okay with that? Yeah, we're okay with that. Okay, we'll place that trade and we'll do that. There would have been no other discussion around it.
Right.
No tax implication, nothing.
Right.
Because that was a financial advisor role. I was really just doing investments.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. So another piece of this, by the way, is a really good story that I ran into just recently too. A potential client has a current advisor that they're working with at a big reputable company, right? They get a little bit of planning, not much. They get investment management, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. They're looking at potentially myself as a different option for them because they have some questions, and that's why they're engaging me. And then they also looked at another company, another big reputable company that really just focuses on investments as well.
Right.
Okay. So this is a big difference in the profession too, because a financial advisor is someone that can kind of do all these different things. The certified financial planner is, can do all these different things and holistically look at things, but there really should be what they call an investment advisor. So this client was telling me like, hey, we're looking at this other third party over here. I'm not going to drop names because I'm not looking to throw shade at people.
Nah.
We all have different talents and that's how we do it. But
Right.
They explained to me what they were looking at, and I'm like, oh, okay. They're an investment advisor, and they're good at what they do, if that's what you want.
Right.
And then I explained their current financial advisor because I actually know that company very well. And I said, well, this is their scope. And I said, here's what I do, here's how I do it, and how I'm different.
Right.
And that holistic planning and everything. And they liked that, knowing that there's a difference.
Right.
But if you just said, we're technically all three of these entities that are working with them are financial advisors.
Right. But the scope's different. The focus different. What the limitations are probably different. And I don't think you have to apologize much. I mean, obviously you did what you did because you thought that was the right thing to do.
Yep.
Right. And so, of course you're going to be a fan and advocate for certified financial planners because that's what you became. Because as you said, I mean, you think that is in the best interest of the client. And I always think that's always like, the question is always for like, what are the alignment? Like, what are the interests and how are the interests aligned? And I always lean towards and prefer situations where, everybody wins together. right? So if you get to be successful because I'm successful in my plan, right? You help me develop a plan, you help me be successful in my financial plan for my financial life, and then my success becomes your success and vice versa.
Yeah, and I'm helping you implement and execute,
Right.
and make decisions along the way.
Right.
And it's always funny to me because cost is a big deal, and people need to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
What are you paying to get the service that you're getting? Because my fee,
No such thing as a free lunch.
right? My fee and fee from company X over here are relatively close to the same, but company X over here just does the investments, like I was just talking about. And I actually do the more holistic approach. And what does that actually mean? It means that, hey, if we're going to make a decision and we're going to save you on taxes, or you're going to make sure you capture that additional $12,000 deduction because you're not going to go over $150,000, yada, 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 right? Like that's actually, how do you put that into the equation?
Right,
you
right,
can't put that into the equation because
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I can save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime by making good decisions, but you can't quantify that. You can't advertise that, right? It's like, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But that's a big, big, big difference than the investment person.
Right.
Because I'm actually going to be making sure that we're trying to capitalize on maximizing return. And part of that is looking at how is that the decision making going to be affected, and what do I get to keep at the end of the day, right?
Right. So the word fiduciary has come up a couple times in this conversation, but it probably would behoove us to define, because that is a fiduciary is a technical term.
It is. Fiduciary is a technical term, and it's thrown around too. Because I was telling you, at my previous company, I got my certified financial planning designation. Yeah. And my certified financial planning designation by designation requires you to be a fiduciary.
Right.
However, the firm that I was at would not allow me to say I was a fiduciary in any way, shape, or form. So that was in conflict all the time, which is part of one of the decision points I used. But so are you a fiduciary? You're not a fiduciary, right? So there's issues there. And the fiduciary piece of it is important because what that specifically means is you have to do what's in the client's best interest.
Fiduciary has to do what's in the client's best interest.
Yes. And with my current company, I'm what they call an SEC registered company. And RIA is the actual acronym.
RIA.
Yeah. Registered investment advisor, which is kind of funny because we're talking about an investment advisor earlier.
Yeah.
All the acronyms are goofy in my world, but
You should come to the church, my friend.
point is the rule for the SEC is that you have to be a fiduciary by law. What does that actually mean? It means that you have to be able to prove that you're doing what's in the client's best interest.
Right. Not what's in not what's in the firm's best interest, not what's in Roy's best interest. But I think people would be kind of surprised that that's, generally speaking, you would think that was just table stakes, right? Like, well, of course they have our best interest in mind. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody either to say, whether they do or they don't. But, there's one thing to say, well, of course I have your best interest in mind. There's another thing to take on, the responsibility that you've taken on through the CFP program to say, no, I have to.
Yep.
Like it's not a goal. It's like it's a have to.
The CFP and the way that I registered my company.
Yes.
Right. So if you're in a situation where I was in my previous firm where I'm a CFP and I'm supposed to be a fiduciary because of the designation I have, but the company won't allow me to put myself out as a fiduciary, why is that? And it has to do with regulations.
Right.
Okay. And does that mean that person's not putting the client's best interest at heart? No, that doesn't mean that at all.
No.
Right? There's a lot of good people that work in the industry. But by law, by rule, it does mean that they're not.
Right.
Because it can't be.
Right.
So it just creates conflict. So I wanted to eliminate that conflict from my professional life.
Sure.
And I was able to do that through this process and the CFP and my company design and all that good stuff. So those all align now for me. Which really fits what I'm trying to do as a financial planner.
Yeah.
Because some of those other companies don't do those things because of the rules and the regulations around things.
Yeah.
So for me to do tax planning, I couldn't do any of that at my previous company.
Right.
It was taboo. You did not talk about taxes.
Oh.
Period. Right? Which is crazy because when you think about it, how many times does someone have well, how is this going to impact me on taxes if I'm making a financial decision here?
Oh.
Almost all of them. So why wouldn't we at least be planners? I'm not a preparer.
Right.
Right. And I always say you need to check and make sure this is accurate with your tax professional, meaning the person that actually files your taxes or your CPA but I can help guide you and give you information and educate you, and then go confirm it to make sure we're not making a mistake. But I should be helping you with that.
Well, it's a big part of your financial life. I mean, taxes are a big part of anybody's financial life. Anybody who makes any amount of money pays a lot of taxes. So, how do you not consider that if you're talking about, especially a holistic look at, my financial plan? Taxes are part of my plan.
Yep. And even people, though, I mean, on fixed income, they're retired, they're on fixed income. Wow, I don't want to pay more in taxes than I have to.
Right.
Because I'm not making more money here.
Right.
Right. I have my pension, my Social Security, my retirement assets. And
right. I got what I got.
We've done lots of our podcasts have been on charitable giving, and we got a couple out there. But, you guys can go check that out on those. But like, those are important pieces of like, how do I keep what I earned and not give the government more than I need to within the rules.
So if somebody's looking for somebody and said, hey, some kind of life event is happening, as you said, that's a big impetus for people walking through your door, newly employed or going to be newly retired, whatever it is. And they're like, yeah, I buy into this. Like, I think I need I need a plan, or I need a plan. I want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. What questions would they ask? Like if I'm looking in the phone book, we don't have phone books anymore. That's not a thing. But I'm looking at like Google. If I'm doing like Google search results for like financial planners near me, what am I looking for? Like, what's the telltale sign that I'm looking at somebody who is in that actual planning world?
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, just call us. We're good.
Credential Wealth Advisors.
Right? But we actually have another podcast coming on kind of common questions that you should ask your potential advisor before you engage them, right? So that's stay tuned, right? So I'm not going to I'm not going to dish the tea on that one now.
Hold the tea.
But I think a good starting point is just understanding, okay, what's the design of the company they work for? What are the rules that they have to follow? I think a really good starting point is a certified financial planner. But again, when I worked at my previous company, I had handcuffs on,
right?
But I still got to say I'm a CFP. So for you, the layman, you wouldn't know the difference between me at that other firm and me today. You would have no idea. So just
unless I was an avid listener of the About podcast,
right? And I would actually ask the question, are you a fiduciary, and are you, able to actually be a fiduciary on my investments? Because that'll tell you the truth of the matter. If they can't be a fiduciary on your investments, they're not a true fiduciary, because the company they work for won't let them. Okay. So CFP is a great starting point. The Financial Planning Association is another great resource that you can look into. I'm a member of the Financial Planning Association as well. It's just literally a subscription thing, but it's about being better, and it's about educating. It's about trying to drive forward the planning profession. And they do have, resources and all good sorts of good stuff for people. So those are really two probably top tier places to go for information about who in my area could help me. If you really want to have that face-to-face conversation with somebody, go search. You can put in your address, and it'll give you the people around you that are CFPs. And then you can interview them and just see if they're a good fit.
Well, and I think that's just, do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of research, kind of ask good questions, and recognize, like, when you go and talk to somebody, you're interviewing them. I mean, right? I mean, that should be the relationship, to some degree, and make sure you're getting what you want, and you're getting the answers you want as far as, what's important to you. Yep. How do they do what they do? Yeah.
Yeah. And I take the approach too, because they're interviewing me. Absolutely. And I'm interviewing them, because if what they want isn't truly my scope, I'm going to tell them that, because like, hey, this is what you're trying to do. And actually, other options exist for that, because I do this way. Because if planning isn't what they want, well, I don't want to be putting someone through that planning process and they don't want it.
Right.
And not everybody wants that or needs it at all points of their life. They're like, I'm good. I just want this piece solved. Okay. There's people for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing, actually, is be clear about what you want. Like, what are your goals? What do you want, out of this?
Well, you're tipping the hat to extra podcasts coming up, everybody. We're going to have more on that too.
I know. So the more you can be clear about that, the better you can ask questions. And part of it also, know what's available. Like, I didn't even know, I don't, it sounds kind of weird, I suppose. But I'm like, I wouldn't have even known, like, financial planning and the way that you talked about it was even a thing. Yep. I thought I was just getting somebody to help me with my retirement stuff. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I didn't realize, like, oh, actually, there are other people who can help me care about this.
And here's a really cool thing, is a financial planner can engage you in different ways too, right?
Yeah.
Because what I mean by that is I actually have someone who has their money managed by a different entity, and I'm still their financial planner, right? You know, I still have a cost, and they're willing to pay that. They think it's more than worth it, but I don't have to have their investments here to engage me as a financial planner.
Okay.
I've also had people just say, hey, I just want a plan that I can work and follow, and I don't really need to pay you every year.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you can come in. We can do a one-time plan for you and design everything the way you want it to be. I'm not there to help them along the way unless they do want to engage me more year to year. But at least it gives them something. So financial planners exist in that way that is just they look at it more holistically and can really kind of help create that roadmap.
Right.
And it's not just one roadmap of we're going to retirement.
Right.
There's so many offshoots. So we try to have conversations around those different things. And then at the point in life when you hit what you hit, then you're just like, okay, here's where we're at. Here's the information we have available, and here's the decision we should make.
I like it.
So
right.
that is the approach of a financial planner, everybody.
All right.
Financial advisor, investment advisor, financial planner. They're different. They have overlapping pieces.
Right.
But just know there's differeres and to ask better questions to fully understand the scope.
The big thing is to ask those questions and make sure that, you know, what you want is whoever you're talking to can provide to you. Absolutely. And if you have any doubts, then just call Roy and sign up for them.
That's right.
Good. All right. Well, this is a good kind of just sort of getting into some of the basics here. We like to cover all kinds of topics here on the About podcast. You know, anything financial advising, planning, personal financial health related, we care about it. And one of the things that is really helpful is when you like and subscribe, but also when you send in your questions or, you know, topics that come up in your mind or things you are curious about, would love to see us explore. Do really appreciate when you guys share that information with us, because it definitely gives us places to go and things to think about. So thank you, Roy, for this.
Thank you, sir. Always appreciate your insight.
Oh, yeah. I'm always happy to, be the dumb one. So.
The layman, not the dumb one.
The layman. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
CWA is a Securities and Exchange Registered Investment Advisor. No content contained herein should be construed as an offer for investment advice or an offer for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of low loss, including loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before implementing any strategy presented here. Data presented here are obtained from believed reliable sources but cannot be guaranteed as to completeness or accuracy.